Hey everyone, I'm Isaac. I play guitar in Epica, and today I want to talk about like the biggest influence on me as a musician and as a metalhead, which is Pantera.
We haven't had anyone pick Pantera just yet. I know that you were a big Pantera fan. We talked about Pantera and Mark Knopfler, I think, back in the day. That was a big influence for you as well. Let's address the elephant in the room straight away, or one of the elephants in the room. Pantera is also touring right now. They have some shows that are not happening, but as a Pantera fan, a band that blew you away as a teenager, how do you look at today's this reunion show or what have you, where we have a couple of the original members obviously being supported by Zakk Wylde and Charlie, I think, on drums.
Charlie, yeah.
How do you look at those shows?
Well, I think everyone in the scene was kind of lifting an eyebrow when that was announced,
right?
Me included. And well, I guess the reason for that is because the two, let's say, main original members, Dimebag and Vinnie, passed away.
Yeah.
And they are not part of this. And so they are two brothers, and they basically started the band. And yeah, if there's a reunion and then those two guys are not there, it's kind of weird. Also, the whole rumor thing going on with who's gonna be the new Dimebag, the new Vinnie. So that whole thing was interesting to watch.
Can't you see I'm easily bothered by persistence? One step from left.
I was there for their first show in Hell and Heaven in Mexico. We played earlier that day and they were, I think, headlining.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great day for me as a sort of super fan. And I've seen them only once before that show in the original lineup, which was, I think, around 2000. And up until today, still like the best show I've ever seen. I think I mentioned that before.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
And so yeah, I was anxious. I was looking forward to it, and I was very curious what the vibe would be of the show. And I have to say that, first of all, it was amazing to hear those songs live again after 25 years or something, 25 years. Again, as a fan, you just want to hear it live. It has so much more power than on the album, and the albums are pretty powerful already. And I have to say that everything was very, very respectful towards the brothers. And they also started the show with a video about them. And I think Phil did a great job, the singer. Not talking too much in between songs. He let the music speak for itself, which wasn't always the case in the past. And so I think they did really well. And then musically, of course, these songs are, on a festival with, I don't know how many people were there, 50,000 plus people, Mexicans, first show again after so many years. So I guess you get an idea of what the vibe could have been.
Tell us about when you discovered this band, a band that has had very different eras over the time. Because a lot of people think that Pantera started in the early 90s, but that is far from the truth. So when did you discover this band?
Well, I discovered them around the, I would say, Vulgar Display of Power era, because that was the first album I got in my hands. So that was, if I'm not mistaken, 92, something like that. So let's say around that time, I must have been 10, 12. something like that. That's when I heard them. Blew my mind totally. And then afterwards, I remember back in the days when you still had record stores. I was just I always went to the section P to see if they had other Pantera albums, because I didn't know if they were any others. And then suddenly I found Cowboys From Hell. Found out it was even earlier. I thought it was a new album, but it was earlier. So yeah, that was it. Like around 12 years old, something like that. And the first one was Vulgar, and then Cowboys From Hell, which was production-wise maybe not as good as Vulgar, but I think the songs were even more appealing to me.
Yeah.
Speaking of a first album in this lineup, I think they nailed it. Yeah, and then obviously they had 4 albums before that with Phil on vocals, and I don't own those albums. I've heard them, but I don't feel I can understand that they kind of
distance themselves
distance themselves from those first albums, because it's a different vibe. You can definitely tell they are going towards what they eventually did with Cowboys From Hell. But I think with Phil on vocals, it totally took the whole thing to a next level.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna assume that "Proud to Be Loud" is not one of your 3 songs from that old era. You mentioned already 2 of their very, very well-known classic albums, and like a lot of people are going to look at Pantera, or what has become Pantera, as Cowboys From Hell is really their first true album, if you will. You said that album, even more so than Vulgar, blew you away, or thought the songs were stronger. Does that mean that one of your songs that you picked is from that album?
Sure, yeah. Cowboys From Hell, the song itself. So it's the opening track of that album, and they always have a pretty decent opening track. There's no introduction, it's like you dive right in. And so I love that song. It's just a classic. Every metalhead knows this song, and so I think it's kind of just the lyrics in itself are so badass. Like, let's take over this town, Cowboys From Hell, we're coming for you, stuff like that. And it totally connects with my impression I had when I saw them live.
Right.
The original lineup. I really felt like that. They're taking over this town, we're coming for you, and it was so badass.
Now, that song also was kind of like the legendary introduction to Dimebag's so unique guitar sound. For you as a guitar player, has that also, like, that, not just the band, but that song in particular, and that first time you hear that guitar playing, has that inspired you as well to kind of find your own sound?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's kind of a bluesy lick, but then very brutal, very different than anything else I heard up until that point.
Yeah.
But in essence, it's just kind of a blues riff. And I think Dime did a lot of that, like taking very basic ideas and then twisting and turning it so it's like right in your face. And you already mentioned the sound. His guitar sound is one of a kind. The way he plays, his soloing, everything about it. He's a huge inspiration for me. Also, when I'm writing my songs, obviously Epica is doing something totally different.
Right.
But if I'm riffing, which is not always happening in Epica, but if there's really like a clear guitar riff which needs a lot of attention, he's always in the back of my mind. It's always like, what would Dime have done? the solo also speaks for itself. It is a story in itself, and that's also something I really like. I don't like solos to be like show off things.
Right.
It has to tell a story, and he's a master in that, or was. And totally right. He's a huge inspiration still up until this day.
Yeah. So let's change gears and let's dig into what, if you had to call out a second song, what would that be?
I wrote them down. The second one is A New Level, which is from Vulgar Display of Power. Again, a very easy riff. I mean, if I would have come up with that, I think it's too simple.
Right.
You can't do that. But still, the way they do it, also the drums, don't underestimate the rhythm section, Rex and Vinnie. They are so tight and so supportive of the riff and the vocals, obviously. But yeah, everything they did, there's not one single note that's too much, or it's totally not about showing off, look at what we can do. It's more like, this is the vibe that we want to smash into your face, and here you have it, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's one of these songs also, like, again, that was the first album I heard of Pantera, and that song definitely sticks out for me.
As a super fan, not just of the band, but of Dimebag himself, when he was killed on stage, that sent shockwaves through the whole metal community, and it was like the first time really that something like that happened in a community that always looks very scary from the outside, but on the inside tends to be a family. Do you remember that moment and how you dealt with that?
Yeah, I'm even getting goose skin right now, but I do remember I was coming back. I studied in Holland, College of Music, and I was on the train, had to switch trains in Antwerp. So I was studying in Rotterdam, had to go through Antwerp, switch trains and go to Ghent and then Ypres, where I lived. And I got a text message from the drummer of one of my bands back then, and he you know, was back in the days when you just had text messages, no WhatsApp, nothing. So it was short and sweet, but I was totally like, what the fuck, you know, what? I couldn't wait to get home to find out what happened, and I was, well, pretty devastated. Like, it's kind of, I don't have many heroes, I don't have many people that I really look up to, but I think Dime is definitely one of them. Just his, I never met him in person, but from what you see online, from what you hear from a lot of people, he must have been the sweetest guy ever, and like a goofball, but a nice guy. And yeah, that combined with the fact that he's just such an amazing guitar player was like, felt really unfair, especially if you find out that the reason would have been that, you know, they broke up Pantera, and then you get shot because of that.
Yeah.
And you know, Vinnie was almost shot then. So yeah, it was a very weird thing to receive on my mobile phone. Like, what the fuck just happened? And yeah, it's a shame. So
Well, unfortunately, this happened, but the music can live on. And it does. I mean, it's still one of the most popular bands amongst metalheads.
yeah.
To wrap us up, what's the third song that you like? Everybody watching this video, they feel like, you know what, this is a song that you need to listen to.
5 minutes alone. So this is from their Far Beyond Driven album, the third album, or seventh, depending on the way you look at it. Yeah, again, I think the thing with Pantera also is that every album they tended to go heavier. And 5 minutes alone is, again, like a really aggressive song, very groovy. And I also like the origin story of the phrase 5 minutes alone, where I think it was Phil who was somewhere and there was a guy trying to pick a fight. And I'm not sure if Phil himself was involved, but anyway, there was someone who said the phrase, well, just give me 5 minutes alone, meaning like, you know, if we would go outside and you'll get 5 minutes and I'll fucking kill you, right? That was the idea. And I think, yeah, again, 5 minutes alone. I think the song is around 5 minutes. It's like a punch in the face, and it really, again, connects really well, the music with the lyrics and with the whole vibe of this band.
Different style than Epica, slightly different style. Although, I mean, I would love to see Simone sing "Walk" one day. You know, could be fun. I am so grateful that you are taking this time, because you are such a busy guy. Epica is always on the road everywhere, and you have these short breaks in between big shows. To wrap us up, because I want to be respectful of your time, I will get the chance to see you play at Grass Bop, which will be yet another amazing show for Epica. But everybody watching this video, I know that the year has already been extremely busy for you, but what should we keep our eyes open for? Like what's coming our way?
Well, first of all, like we had two European legs, 2 European tours this year already. So now we're on a little break before we go into the summer festivals. So that's on the plate. And then after that, we don't have a lot of things planned, because we're supposed to start writing a new album, which will probably be recorded next year, maybe released next year or early 2025. I'm not sure yet. Depends on how good the stuff is that we write.
I was talking to Mark in, I'm gonna say October, and he at that time told me that I have to take a flight tonight or tomorrow morning, but I'm still gonna write a little bit because I'm super inspired. So that he's been working for some time on it, and it will be cool to see you guys go from Omega, which remains, I think, an absolute career highlight for the band, which is pretty cool to see that. You guys are at you just seem to go from like higher point to higher point as the band continues, versus so many bands that have to go back to their first 2 or 3 albums over and over again.
It's good to hear. Some people would disagree with you, but thanks, you know. And the thing is, again, in this case, I think it relates kind of with Pantera, where I say every album they tend to get heavier, you know. The Great Southern Trendkill, if you listen to the first seconds, it's like I remember having it on like full volume because the new Pantera album, and I scared the shit out of myself. I think this also relates to Epica. We always try to find new edges of going more heavy, or like try to find new ways to do the same thing. So nice that you hear that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Isaac, I look forward to seeing you play at Grasspop and hopefully having a chance to say hi. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, like opening the door a little bit and sharing a little bit of your passion for Pantera. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you've got a great time and a great preparation for all the festivals this summer.
I will. Thanks for having me. Take care.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.